Someone made a comment on my other video about how to set up a WoW private server, about wanting to know how to create custom items. It's pretty easy to do. The first thing you need to do is get a program to create an item. I use Trinity Creator right here. There are other ones. I think there's even other ones that are more updated, but I'm not sure. You just search, find one you like. But this is the one I use. So you open that up. The first thing you want to do is make sure your configuration is set. So you want to configure DBC path. Excuse me. And that will be the directory of your repack. I'm using AC web. So you go into your repack, core, data, DBC, select, hit save, and then you go into configure MySQL. And depending on the repack you're using, this might be different, but for me, I'm using AC web, and this is the default. 127001 for the host, port 3306, user root, password is sent, and role database is world. Go figure. And then you just hit save. It'll come up green. If it comes up red, that means you either don't have your database running or you got the wrong information in here. So as you can see, my database is running right here. The auth server is running and the world server is running. So anyway, you hit save, it's green, you just close that out, and now you can begin creating your item. I'm going to create a weapon, melee weapon, because that seems to be the hardest one to get right, because if you don't get it right, then you won't be able, it'll say melee weapon required and it'll be broke. So we're going to do this way, and it'll work all around. It should, anyway. So we're going to go item name, we're going to go YouTube trick guy is awesome. We'll just call it YouTube. And trick guy is awesome. Because you all know it. We're going to give it epic bounds. Do you want to bind on, equip, whatever? I want to be able to trade it whenever I want, so no bounds. Weapon, one-handed sword, one-handed max count, how many you can have, 0 is unlimited, stack count, so if you wanted to stack them up, I guess you could try to change this. I don't know if it would work for a melee weapon, so just one. Now if there are arrows or something, then you'd want a higher stack. Damage, we're going to make it ridiculous, 10,000 to 50,000. Speed is 1,000 is 1, so we're going to set 1,000, which is more like a dagger speed, I guess, but whatever. Stats, you can have up to 10. And we'll just give it some stats. Just give it stuff here. Regeneration. I forgot that was a thing. Stamina. We need stamina. Gotta have stamina on an item. Haste. Sure, why not? Agility, that might be good if it's a rogue. Let's give it a bunch of defense. And dodge. Okay, so we got those in there. Level required, pretty obvious. Level 0, you can get it level 1. Level 80, you'd have to be level 80 to get it. Whatever. Item level would be like the 265, whatever. We're just going to set 300. Buy price, sell price, self-explanatory. You can change the flags here. So if you want it to be these different things, horde only, alliance only, blah, blah, blah. We're going to ignore that. Class and race limitations. Magic resistance, the cap is 255, so no matter what you put in there, 255. Obviously, you can put in 100. We're not going to do that now. Gem sockets, you can have gems. I think the max is 3 no matter what you do, so we'll add 1 meta, and then add 2 reds. And socket bonus, we're going to give it 12 stamina. Easy enough to do. So the last, well, you can do it while you're up here. I didn't. Make this bigger here. For display ID, this is the model it's going to use. So we're going to select, hit find, and we're going to do, what do you Thunder Fury? Now, if you have Chrome, you double click on this, it'll pop up and give you that, I think. I don't have Chrome, so I can't test it. And I won't get Chrome because I don't like Google. So, but yeah. So you can see the model you're looking at, hopefully. But once you decide, right click, copy. And then left click, paste. Easy enough. And the last big thing, this is the biggest thing for me. Well, not the biggest, but it's pretty important for me. Is the entry ID down here underneath the gem sockets. This will help you find your items easier. I start mine at 100,000. 100,000, yeah. That way you know that you're not going to run into any conflicts. And then when you create your second item, it'll auto increment to 100,001, 100,002. That way you know all your items are above 100,000. Okay, so once you got all this done and you're happy with it, hit export to database. Okay, and now we're done with this program. I'm just going to minimize that. Now you open up your Heidi SQL. If you're running a server and you don't know how to use this already, figure it out. But the connect, it's the same as these settings here. And then you'll have a list of your databases. Your databases. You just go down to world, find the item template, and let's just make sure it's there. So we'll do select all from item template where ID entry greater than equal to 100,000. So the run, and you'll see we only have one entry there, and that's the one we just created. And you'll have the name, and all the stats will be in here. All the fun stuff. Okay, so we know it's there. And now we have to do something that I forget off the top of my head. We have to create a CSV file. So what we're going to want to do, I'm actually going to do this in QDIR. If I got it floating around here, QDIR. And we're going to go to WoW Core Data DBC. And we want to make a backup of item DBC, so just copy that. And I'm going to back up a folder here. I already have one, so I'm not going to do it again, but just paste it into another folder, just in case you make a big mistake. Okay, so we know that. And then you want to go, paste it into your directory that you extracted, hopefully. Nope, that's not right. Into the directory you hopefully downloaded. And then you'll have these different files here. You want to drag it into your DBC utility. And it'll create a CSV file for you. Now you want to edit it. I use Notepad++. And then scroll down to the bottom. You see our item's not listed in here because it's not part of the database. So let's close that. Now we have to get the information out of the database, excuse me, to paste into there. So we open up the Heidi SQL again. And then we find the SQL that should be in this directory. And you drag it into Heidi SQL. And the only thing you might need to change is if you used a different entry ID than I did. Like say if you used 60,000, you would just change this number to 60,000. But we know mine is 100,000. That's why this step here, the entry ID, is important. It's so much easier to keep your stuff managed. Otherwise, you'll have to search by a different field, and it gets pretty hairy. So, okay, so we got that. After you get that pasted in there or dragged into there, and this entry ID is right, you hit the play button to execute the query, and it'll give you the same amount of fields. As you can see here, it'll give you the same amount of fields. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sense? Okay, so now we want to take this, export grid rows. We're just going to copy it to the clipboard, delimited text, complete rows, which is 1. We don't want to include column names. A field separator is a comma. I think by default it's a semicolon. You want to change it to comma. I remove the null value. I don't know if it's the way to do it, but I remove it. Yeah, so basically you just look at this and that's what you want to do. Okay, so you just hit OK. And then you go back to the CSV file, scroll all the way to the bottom, and Control V to paste. And I always backspace it 1. Okay, so now we got our item in there. Then you just hit save. And we can just go ahead and minimize. Actually, we're going to close these now because we're done. Just want to close, yes. I'm going to close Heidi SQL as well. Because if we don't, and we close the SQL server, it's going to be mad. Okay, so we got that done. Now, here's the original. Again, I'm going to make another backup because this is the stock. And I can never have enough backups of the stock. By stock, I mean the one that's shipped with the Trinity server. And you can tell by the date, 2017, whereas my new one's 2020, because guess what? It's 2020. Okay, so we got our new edited CSV, and just double check, and there's 100,000 at the bottom. Let's close that out. Now you take this, and then drag it back into the DBC utility. And now we have a DBC file. And it's the same size right here. It just looks like it's the same size because there's so little difference. There's only one more field. But if you have like 50 different fields, it might be 442 kilobytes. Okay, so we got that. Now, over here in our server core directory, in the core data DBC, we want to find items, which I just had. Item DBC. And we're just going to delete that. I'm actually going to rename it with a capital I just for capital I for consistency purposes. And then you copy here, paste it back into the Repacks DBC folder. And that part is done. The server can now recognize it. And now you need to make a patch file that the clients will need. So you go open up the MPQ editor, do MPQ new. We're going to call this patch patch X. We're going to call it patch Y. Patch Y. Let me give it a capital P because I'm feeling funky. And next, finish. And then right click new folder. You want to call it DB Files Client. Okay, that's it. You make sure that folder's open. And then drag and drop your new item DBC in there. And then close it. And now you have the patch Y here. Now you take that, and however you do it, I'm running on 2 different computers now, but I can copy and paste from computer to computer. You might need to put it somewhere, or if you're running on the same computer, you can just copy it over to your client folder. But copy, and then you want to take it into your data and paste it into here. And I'm not sure if this is required. You know what? Let's make it a small p, just for consistency. I'm not sure if it needs to go into here, but I put it into here anyway because it's the fit, just the fit, but everything else, consistency. That's what I was looking for again. So small p, and US. I'm not sure if that's required, like I said. Okay, so we're done on both sides. So now we just need. Oh, you couldn't see what I was doing. Okay, so I put it into data, pasted it into the data directory, and then I went into enus, pasted it into here, made it a small p on both. And in this directory, like I said, I'm not sure if it needs to be in here, but I renamed it to patch enus-y. I'm not sure if it's required. I just do it because that's the way it works for me once. So I do it every time. Okay, so let's go back here to the server. And there's world, there's auth. Now I'm just going to close these out. Because you usually tell by starting them up if it's not going to work. So start up with the MySQL, loads up, and then the auth loads right up. And then the world server, and if we don't get any sheath errors, we'll be good. So far, so good. And there we go. Okay, so now, let's load up WoW. Let's take a moment and it'll show up on your screen. Hopefully, soon. Hello. There we go. And we're just going to use this character. Oh, no, she already has one. Let's make it. We'll just remove that one and add it now. Okay. So now, hopefully you know your Trinity commands. So we're going to do lookup item. What I call it, U2. And there's our item, and it's got the ID of 100,000. Since we knew it, we could have just did add item 100,000. But like so. And then 1 more 0. And now it's in our bag. Actually, I got 2 of them. Let's get rid of these. Okay, so now there's our item. Or you should know this by now. Since you've been running the server for a long time now, right? you do the lookup, and then you can shift click on it. And I don't know where it went. There it goes. I don't know where that went. But now, okay, so you know you're going to have problems if in the bag you have the big red question mark. That's a sure sign that you screwed up somewhere. So we didn't, so we're going to take it and drag it in. Or you can right click. I don't have dual wielding yet. But yeah, there you go. Now you see down here, it doesn't say that in red that I require a melee weapon. So that means we're all set. And I do 86,000 damage. So, yep, that's all there is to it. It's a lot of steps, but after you do it 2 or 3 times, it's cake. The big thing I ran into is here. When I was making the NPQ files, I was not making them sequential, so that I would do patch 1 or patch 4. Patch 4 wouldn't show up because there's patch W. Patch W loads after patch 4, and it was overwriting the changes I made. So you have to make sure you do them sequentially. Like my next one would be maybe Y-1 or even Z. Or if it's just you playing, you can just recreate and overwrite Y. Whatever works. If it's just going to be you, just keep overwriting Y. But if you're going to be playing with a bunch of people, do it sequentially and then send your buddies patches. That way they don't have to think about it. You know? And then if you build a new client, remove all the old ones, put the new ones in, and then ship it off to them. So anyway, that's something you can figure out. But just make sure you do it sequentially or overwrite your current one. And then just make sure you go back here and delete your cache. If you do overwrite especially. So that's all there is to it. If you have any questions or if you see something I blatantly screwed up because you're an expert at this, let me know and I'll figure it out. Alright, have a good one.